Tomorrow, there's going to be a recall election in the state of Wisconsin. Governor Scott Walker, of course, was deeply unpopular at one point in Wisconsin because of him going after labor rights for state employees. A lot of people did not react kindly to that. He pretended that it was part of a budget impasse, but in fact, he had been planning it all along as a way to divide and conquer the unions overall in the state because of promises that he made to wealthy donors. In fact, that's not speculation, that's on tape. Number one, of course, he responded to that fake Koch caller. If you remember, when a guy pretending to be one of the Koch brothers had called during the whole blow-up in Wisconsin, and he immediately took the call and stood on the call with him for an incredibly long period of time saying, yes, Mr. Koch, we will try to deliver what you need, basically, Mr. Koch. But that's not the only time. In fact, there's a call, I'm sorry, not a call, but a meeting that was recorded for a documentary with billionaire backer of Governor Scott Walker. Her name is Diane Hendricks. And get a load of her question to him and his answer. Let's watch.
Good to see you.
Oh,
Thanks for having us.
thank you for being
Hi,
here.
Mary Wilbur.
Good to see you again.
Good to see
Yeah.
you, yeah.
Any chance we'll ever get to be a completely red state and work on these unions?
Oh, yeah.
And become a right to work?
Well, in fact, the
What
big thing
can we do to help you?
we're going to start in a couple weeks with our budget adjustment bill. The first step is we're going to deal with collective bargaining for all public employee unions.
Right?
Because you divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer. So he said, we're going to start with a first step. We're going to go after the public unions. And he said, after that, we're going to obviously try to get to what is known as right to work laws. Right to work laws, of course, say that they take away power from unions, not just for state employees, but for all employees. And he said, going after the state employees leads to, quote, this was the last part of what he said to her, that opens the door once we do that. So now this was before he even passed the bill. This was before he even introduced the bill. So he's telling one of his billionaire donors, don't worry, I'm actually trying to divide and conquer the unions and then the average working guy so we can crush them entirely and make this a Republican state forever. Now, later, he would say, oh my God, no, this had to do with the budget. This has nothing to do with the unions. I had to do it. That we know from a fact from that tape is not true. It was part of his political strategy all along. He now says, oh, you know what? I'm not going for a right to work state here in Wisconsin. No, this is just about public employees. But he already told his donor that is exactly what it's about. In fact, in another portion of the tape recorded for this documentary, and it's called As Goes Janesville, and filmmaker Brad Lichtenstein just shared it with the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel earlier last month in May. And he explains that his hero is Governor Mitch Daniels, who did the same exact thing in Indiana. But he said, oh my God, he had the luxury of being able to do it through executive decisions. I have to actually get it passed when it comes to taking away labor rights for the unions for state employees here. But later, Daniels was able to pass the right to work laws anyway, which Walker says is his objective. So what happened here? Now, in the beginning, Walker, almost exactly a year ago, in a theoretical matchup versus Tom Barrett, who's the Milwaukee governor at the time, was losing by 7 points. Okay, that poll was 50 to 43. It was conducted by Public Policy Polling. Now, exactly a year later, according to Marquette polling, Walker's up by 7 points. And in fact, you know, even if you take the, again, Public Policy polling on it, Walker's up by 3 points a day before the election, right? So 10 to 14 point flip in a year. Well, what happened was Walker raised over $30 million, including from the woman you just saw, the one he made the promise to. The day after she got that promise, she gave Walker $10,000. And then during the recall election, she gave him another $500,000, one of his largest donors. Why is she so concerned about union rights? Well, she's running a company that does not use public employees. Well, she uses private employees. She wants to crush the unions so that they could divide and conquer, just like Governor Walker promised her, so they can get rid of the union rights at her plants, her factories, etc. She gives all that money to Walker so he can deliver her that political gift so that she saves a lot more money through not having to negotiate with unions. She can pay her workers less. She can give them less benefits if the governor crushes unions for her. That's why she gives all that money. Now let's look at the other money that rolled in. Compared to Tom Barrett got about $4 million, $3.9 million. So now he's got outside groups helping him as well, with unions, Democratic Party, DNC, etc. But overall, obviously, Walker has a huge advantage because he also has outside groups pouring money into his race. Plus, he's got nearly $31 million as of today, whereas Barrett himself only had $4 million. So that's a giant advantage to Governor Walker. See, gee, I wonder why the polls swung 10 to 14 points in favor of Governor Walker, because he had all that money to buy all those ads to deceive the people of Wisconsin. Now, to give you a sense of how much money was on the line here, look at this. In April 24th to May 21st, okay, so as we are headed towards the recall election in this year, just a 3-week time period, Walker took in $5.2 million. Now, that's more than Barrett has raised in just by itself in just those 3 weeks. Now, to give you a sense of how much that is, that's about $180,000 a day, roughly $7,700 an hour, and $130 per minute. Now, why is all that money pouring in? Because it's a great investment. You buy Scott Walker, he crushes the unions for you, you make more money. In fact, you can tell from where the money's coming from. Roughly 70% of the money for Governor Walker is coming outside of Wisconsin, because those are all the guys who need union crushed in all their different states. Those are the big moneyed interests that love a guy like Governor Walker. Whereas Tom Barrett, 70% of his fundraising, roughly, has come from inside Wisconsin. So those are the people who are actually trying to get their government back. So far, if these results hold, and there is no guarantee that they will, in fact, Russ Feingold, of course, former senator from Wisconsin, believes that Barrett will win because the Democrats will have better voter turnout. You know, I hope he's right about that. I'm not so sure. But if these polling holds and Walker wins, unfortunately, it'll be a great testament to how you can buy elections. Now, who in their right mind really believes that Scott Walker, who goes around making all these promises to billionaires like Hendricks and to the Koch brothers, actually works for you? No, he's trying to make sure that you get as little benefits and as little wages as he possibly can, to make sure that he has a return on investment for the guys who bought him. Why? Why would you vote for that guy? So it's a huge test of democracy in Wisconsin. Can votes actually overcome all this money that's spent to buy your election? And only one state has that answer, and it's the state of Wisconsin. And they're going to decide tomorrow whether they're going to be duped into voting for the billionaire's boy, Scott Walker, who's going to look to try to lower your wages, the average guys, the middle-class guys' wages, as much as humanly possible. Or if you're going to vote for democracy and say, hey, we've had enough of this, and we're not going to be tricked by all this tens of millions of dollars you poured into this campaign, of course breaking your record by a long shot in how much was spent on this campaign. We find out tomorrow.